Welcome to the East Rink at the St. Louis Park Rec Center, and thank you for volunteering to run the scoreboard. I will start off with some photos to help familiarize you with the components of the scoreboard system that you need to be familiar with. The scoreboard is commonly referred to as the clock. In reality, our scoreboard system consists of multiple clocks and displays. The first clock is the time of day clock. It is a separate clock that is attached to the upper right-hand section of the scoreboard. When I took this photograph, it was 3:24 in the afternoon. You have no control over this clock. The scoreboard's main clock is located on the scoreboard in the center, on the top, and is a green display. This clock is run by you and counts downward. This photo indicates that there is 11 minutes and 11 seconds remaining in the third period. The hour clock is located on top of the scoreboard on the left-hand side. This clock also counts downward. It is set by the rink staff, and you have no control over this one either. The game will end when either the main clock reaches 0 or when the hour clock reaches 0. When either clock reaches 0, the horn will sound. The game will be over no matter how much time is displayed on the other clock. In general, the game will end when the main clock, the green 11:11 here, reaches 0 at the end of the third period. However, in a game where there are a lot of stoppages in play, the game could end by the hour clock. The scoreboard can be divided up into the three main sections. The left-hand side of the scoreboard is home team information. The right-hand side is visitor team information. And the center is game information. On the left and right sides you have penalty clocks. Our scoreboard can display up to 2 penalties per team at a time. If one team has more than 2 penalties at any given time, they will be kept track of by the controller. However, they will not be displayed on the scoreboard until one of the penalties that are displayed has expired or is cleared by you. In the center of the scoreboard you will see the main clock time and the score of the game. In this photo, the home team has 1 while the guests have 50, and you will see period information. In this case, it is the third period. If the game you are working utilizes overtime, should the game go into overtime, you would light up the O/T period indicator for the remainder of the game. You will also notice the word penalty in white. Just to the right and left of that word are 2 arrows that can be illuminated on the controller. One points to the home team side, while the other points to the visitor's side. You needn't worry about this at all. The controller is located between the penalty boxes. Just to the right of the controller you will find a cheat sheet for common commands. To power up the scoreboard, flip the power switch located under the table by your right knee. The scoreboard will sound the horn when powering up. After a few seconds, the display on the clock will look like this. To power up the controller, you need to flip the power switch located on the back side of the controller. The controller is set up in a logical manner. On the left-hand side of the green buttons control the home team functions. The 4 black buttons control setting period and penalty timers. The red buttons control the visiting team functions. The number pad allows for entering specific numbers when needed and contains the clear and enter buttons. Next to the number pad is the arrow keys. On the right-hand side of the controller are the buttons that control the main clock functions. After you power up the scoreboard and the controller, the display on the controller will look like this. To set up the controller, you will need to do the following. First, press the clear button to tell the clock that you want to start a new game. Next, you will see the prompt that asks you to enter code 062. All you need to do is press enter. You do not need to use the number pad yet. When the 1/10 second prompt appears, simply press enter again. At this point, the clock is initialized and ready to go. The number in the middle of the display represents 12 minutes. Before the game, find out how long the warm-up, the periods, and the intermission between periods are supposed to be, as some of these times differ from age group to age group. The warm-up is usually 5 minutes, so here we will first set the main clock to 5 minutes. To set the main clock, push the button labeled Set Main Clock. Then, to enter the 5 minutes, you will press 5, 0, 0, 0. Since this scoreboard utilizes tenths of a second on the controller, you will have to enter an extra 0 in the tenths of a second space. At this point, the display on the controller will display 5 minutes. However, the scoreboard will still display 12 minutes. This is because you need to press the Enter key to finalize your entry. In order to start the main clock's countdown, simply push the big green start button. To stop the clock, press the big red stop button. One of the most common mistakes parent volunteers make during a game is forgetting to start or stop the clock. Keeping your mind on your duties is hard to do when your kid is on the ice, so I recommend keeping your index finger resting on the stop button during play so that you won't forget to stop the clock. The yellow horn button sounds the horn continuously while being depressed. This is a great tool for you if you find yourself not ready for play to restart, but notice that the refs are about to drop the puck. Simply give the horn button a tap to momentarily sound the horn as an alert to the refs to wait until you are ready. This usually occurs when you are having trouble entering a penalty and the refs quickly line up for a face-off without verifying that the penalty has been posted by you. Next to the yellow horn button is the auto horn button. This button controls whether or not the horn will automatically sound when the main clock time expires. To change that, you push auto horn, enter. If the H is gone, the horn will not sound. So, auto horn, enter. When you initialize the scoreboard and controller, as we have done in this video, the auto horn will be active by default. Another not well-known function is having the ability for the clock to count upwards. Again, the default is a downward countdown. However, if the controller and scoreboard are already powered up when you show up, it is possible to run into these weird types of problems. If the clock is counting up, you can fix this by simply pressing the up-down button and then enter. In order to post a penalty, you first need to determine if it is against the home or visitor team. In this case, we will post a penalty to the visiting team. To do so, we will first press the player penalty button. Since at this point there are no penalties posted, pushing the player penalty button will bring up line 1. When penalties are entered, they are assigned in order. The scoreboard can display only 2 penalties at a time. However, if there are more than 2 penalties assigned to one team, they will be kept track of by the controller and subsequently displayed when a penalty that is displayed is either completed or cleared by you. The first of 2 fields that need to be entered before the penalty can be posted is the player's jersey number. In this case, the penalty was committed by number 14, so we will press 1, 4, enter. If you are unable to get the player's jersey number, simply press enter. At this point, the jersey number is displayed along with the controller's default penalty time of 2 minutes. Pressing enter now would post a 2-minute penalty. However, if you need to post a penalty of a differing amount of time, this is when you would enter that value and then press enter. As always, when you make a change, look up at the scoreboard to verify the change was posted on the scoreboard. At this point, let's say that play has resumed with player number 14 in the box. While he is in the box, the home team scores a goal. we have to do two things. First, we have to register the goal for the home team by pressing the score +1 button under the home team header. Secondly, we need to clear the penalty to player number 14. To clear the penalty, we first need to press the player penalty button. When we press this button, the controller thinks we want to enter a second penalty. That is why you see line 2 displayed. Since we actually want to clear the penalty, that is on line 1, we have to get up to line 1. We do this by using the up arrow key. Now that we are on line 1, we simply press the clear button to clear the penalty, then enter to make the change final. Now for a different scenario. Period 1 is coming to an end. When the time for period 1 runs out, player 22 for the home team still has 1 minute remaining in a penalty. Since we have to run a 1-minute intermission between periods, we need to stop or disable the penalty clock from counting down along with the main clock during this intermission. This is what we don't want to see. To do this, we simply press the Disable Penalty Timers button. This freezes the penalty clock while the main clock runs down during the intermission. This is how the scoreboard should look during the intermission countdown. At the end of the intermission, you need to remember to undo this change by pressing the Enable Penalty Timers button so that the penalty timer will resume its countdown during play. To change the period, you can push the period +1 button to advance the period by a factor of 1. As you can see, there are multiple buttons on the controller that have a circle under the word. This indicates that after pressing that button, you can then enter a number on the number pad, then press enter to get that value to display on the scoreboard. For example, let's say the scoreboard is indicating the third period and you want to change it to the first period. To do this, you simply have to push the period button with the circle, then press the number 1 and enter. Another example of when you might need to use this function is if one team scores a goal but you accidentally register it for the other team. You could press the score +1 button 99 times to get back around to the correct score. The better way to do it is simply press the score button with the circle, then press the correct number on the number pad and enter. Well, now you have the basic knowledge needed to run the Daktronics All-Sport 4000 scoreboard in the East Rink at the St. Louis Park Rec Center. In summary, I would like to stress a few points. Show up about 15 minutes before game time. This will give you time to inquire about the timing details of the game and spend a few quality minutes of hands-on time with the controller and the scoreboard before the game starts. Go ahead and post a few mock penalties and then practice clearing them. Bring a piece of paper and a pen. If there is a penalty between periods that you need to disable the penalty clock for, you can jot down the time remaining in that penalty before you start the clock, just in case. Take a minute to familiarize yourself with the cheat sheet. This can be a lifesaver when you forget a command and the refs, both coaches, both teams, and everyone in the stands is staring at you while you fumble around on the controller. Keep a finger on the stop button during play so you don't forget to stop the clock after the whistle. Lastly and most importantly, remember which button is your best friend, the manual horn button, and don't be afraid to give it a shot if you're not ready.